The relationship between Greece and Russia, once forged in the crucible of revolution and war, has dilapidated in recent years, culminating in a collapse that has shocked many. Here's the thing. This shifting alliances is not just a geopolitical story, but also one of betrayal and the often unseen forces that shape the destinies of nations. As we dig into the historical ties between these two countries, this video will uncover a series of disturbing revelations that expose a darker and more sinister undercurrent to the relationship between Greece and Russia. You see, Greece and Russia have shared a complex and multifaceted relationship since the 19th century. Their interactions have been marked by periods of mutual support, but also punctuated by moments of tension. From Russia's backing of the Greek Revolution for independence to their cooperation in the Crimean and Balkan Wars, the two nations have often found common cause against shared adversaries. But wait, there's more. Behind these public alliances, secret dealings and hidden agendas would ultimately sow the seeds of their relationship's downfall. But beneath the geopolitical troubles lies something deeper that has bound these nations for centuries: their shared Orthodox Christian heritage. This cultural and religious bond has not only shaped their interactions, but has also influenced the course of history in profound ways. I recommend you watch this video unfold to explore the highs and lows of the Greece-Russia relationship, focusing on key historical events and uncovering little-known details that have shaped their interactions. This video aims to shed light on how this once strong partnership unraveled in recent years, so stay with me and follow closely. Now, the Greek Revolution of Independence of 1821 to 1829 marked a pivotal moment in the history of Greece as it fought to break free from centuries of Ottoman rule. Inspired by the ideals of enlightenment and fueled by a desire for national sovereignty, Greek revolutionaries launched a struggle for freedom that would capture the imagination of Europe. What's more, this struggle was seen as a clash between Christianity and Islam, adding a religious dimension to the conflict that garnered widespread support from European powers. Among the European powers that took an interest in the Greek cause, Russia emerged as a significant supporter. You see, the Russian Empire, led by Tsar Alexander I, saw an opportunity to weaken the Ottoman Empire, its long-standing rival, by backing the Greek insurgents. Russian aid came in the form of diplomatic pressure, financial assistance, and eventually military intervention. Interestingly, the Treaty of Adrianople in 1829, which ended the Russo-Turkish War, forced the Ottoman Empire to recognize Greek autonomy, a significant victory for the Greek cause largely attributable to Russian intervention. But as you'll later find out, beneath this ostensibly altruistic support lay a more calculated agenda. Some conspiracy theories reveal that Russia's primary motivation was not the liberation of Greece, but the strategic weakening of the Ottoman Empire, which we will talk about in just a second. Some officials even believe that Russia wanted to gain control over the strategically vital Dardanelles and Bosporus Straits, crucial maritime routes for Russian trade and military movements, which leads us to the Greece-Russia battles and coalitions of the 19th century. Here's the thing. The mid-19th century saw Greece and Russia once again aligning against the Ottoman Empire during the Crimean War of 1853 to 1856. Greece, seeking to expand its territory at the expense of the Ottomans, found a natural ally in Russia. The two nations coordinated their military efforts, with Greece launching raids against Ottoman positions in tandem with Russian advances. During the Crimean War, Greece attempted to leverage its geographic position to control important trade routes and exert influence over the Aegean Sea. The early 20th century brought further cooperation during the Balkan Wars of 1912 to 1913, where Greece and Russia shared a common interest in dismantling the remnants of Ottoman power in the Balkans. These wars saw Greece achieving significant territorial gains, including the annexation of Thessaloniki, Epirus, and parts of Macedonia, with Russian diplomats diplomatic and military support playing a crucial role in their success. And if you think that's interesting, wait until you hear this next part. Some Greek leaders expressed concerns that Russia sought to dominate the region and would readily sacrifice Greek interests to achieve its goals. For instance, during the Congress of Berlin in 1878, Russia's willingness to make concessions at Greece's expense to appease other European powers highlighted this underlying suspicion. This mistrust would persist, coloring Greek-Russian relations with a layer of cynicism and caution that belied their outward cooperation. As the 19th century gave way to the tumultuous events of the 20th century, these underlying tensions would resurface, ultimately contributing to the unraveling of the relationship in the modern era. Which begs the question, how did the wars of the 20th century unfold for both Greece and Russia? At the outbreak of World War I, Greece found itself in a precarious position. Initially, the nation maintained a stance of neutrality, torn between the pro-German sympathies of King Constantine I and the pro-Entente leanings of Prime Minister Eleftherios Venizelos. This internal conflict eventually led to Greece joining the Entente powers, which included Russia in 1917. Greece's participation in the war on the side of the Entente was crucial in securing its post-war territorial gains, including Western Thrace and the Dodecanese Islands. But here's the crazy part. The Bolshevik Revolution of 1917 dramatically altered the geopolitical landscape. The Russian Empire's collapse and the subsequent rise of the Soviet Union had profound implications for Greece-Russia relations. The new Soviet government withdrew from the war, leaving Greece to navigate the post-war period without its erstwhile ally. Additionally, the Bolshevik government repudiated its previous treaties, including those with Greece, effectively nullifying the diplomatic ties that had been established. Despite their alliance during the war, some reports suggest that Greece secretly aided white Russian armies fighting against the Bolsheviks. Believe it or not, Greek troops and resources were clandestinely funneled to support the anti-communist cause, reflecting Greece's deep-seated fear of Bolshevism spreading to their own country. This intervention was reportedly kept under wraps for decades, highlighting a clandestine chapter in Greek foreign policy. These covert actions were indicative of Greece's broader strategy to counter communist influences both domestically and internationally, which leads us to World War II and the infamous Greek Civil War. During World War II, Greece and the Soviet Union found themselves on the same side once more, fighting against the Axis powers. Greece's resistance against the Italian invasion in 1940 and subsequent occupation by Nazi Germany was marked by fierce guerrilla warfare, with the Greek resistance movements receiving indirect support from the Soviet Union. The National Liberation Front and its military wing, the Greek People's Liberation Army, were particularly influenced by Soviet ideologies, advocating for social and political reforms inspired by the Soviet model. The end of World War II did not bring peace to Greece. Instead, it ignited a brutal civil war in 1946 to 1949 between the Greek government and communist insurgents. The Soviet Union provided significant support to the Greek Communist Party, supplying arms and training to the insurgents in an effort to establish a communist foothold in the Mediterranean. The Greek Civil War was one of the first proxy wars of the Cold War, illustrating the global struggle between Western capitalism and Eastern communism. And guess what? Some shocking allegations during this period reveal that Greece conducted extensive intelligence operations against Soviet espionage. Greek intelligence agencies, with alleged support from Western allies, were accused of carrying out covert operations to counter Soviet influence, including surveillance, infiltration of communist networks, and counter-propaganda campaigns. These operations underscore the intense and often clandestine nature of the Cold War conflict in Greece. Notably, Operation Gladio, a secret NATO program aimed to prepare and support anti-communist resistance in the event of a Soviet invasion, with Greece playing a pivotal role in the broader network of stay-behind operations. And if you think the struggle was over at this point, you're wrong, because it would get worse. Greece's strategic shift towards the West was cemented by its membership in NATO in 1952. Now, this alignment with Western powers marked a significant departure from its earlier cooperation with Russia and placed Greece firmly in the anti-Soviet camp during the Cold War. Greece's accession to NATO was also influenced by its desire for security guarantees against communist insurgencies and regional adversaries. The Soviet Union reacted strongly to Greece's NATO membership, viewing it as a direct threat to its influence in the region. The ensuing decades were marked by diplomatic tensions and Soviet attempts to undermine Greek political stability through various means, including support for leftist movements and propaganda efforts. The Greek government responded by intensifying its counter-espionage activities and strengthening its ties with Western intelligence agencies. But that's not the only disturbing part about it. Declassified CIA files from this period revealed extensive Greek-Soviet espionage activities. Both nations engaged in a high-stake game of intelligence gathering, with Greek and Soviet agents infiltrating each other's governments, military establishments, and intelligence networks. These espionage activities included everything from wiretapping and code breaking to clandestine operations aimed at destabilizing the other side. The scale and intensity of these covert operations were far greater than previously acknowledged, underscoring the deep mistrust and antagonism that defined Greek-Soviet relations during the Cold War. For example, the Greek intelligence service, KYP, collaborated closely with the CIA to monitor and counter Soviet activities in the region, including surveillance of Soviet diplomats and suspected communist sympathizers. Turns out that with the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991, Greece and Russia entered a new phase of their relationship. The 1990s and early 2000s were characterized by a thaw in relations, marked by renewed diplomatic and economic ties. Both nations sought to capitalize on the changing geopolitical landscape, with Greece seeing an opportunity to benefit from Russia's vast energy resources and Russia aiming to strengthen its influence in the Mediterranean. During this period, Greece and Russia negotiated several significant energy agreements, particularly concerning natural gas pipelines and trade deals. These agreements were intended to enhance Greece's energy security while providing Russia with a reliable market for its energy exports. The construction of the South Stream pipeline, although later canceled, symbolized the mutual economic interests that drove their cooperation during this era. Additionally, trade between the two countries flourished, with Greece importing Russian energy products and exporting agricultural goods such as olive oil and wine to Russia. The primary imports included natural gas and petroleum products. According to Eurostat, Greece imported approximately $2.5 billion worth of goods from Russia in 2020. On the other hand, Greece exported olive oil and wine, with exports valued at around $800 million in 2020. Despite the booming trade dealings between the two nations, Greece's economy would find itself at the brink of collapse. See, the Greek financial crisis, which began in 2009, plunged the nation into severe economic turmoil. Greece's debt-to-GDP ratio skyrocketed to over 170%, leading to multiple bailout packages from the European Union and the International Monetary Fund, which imposed strict austerity measures on the Greek economy. As Greece struggled with crippling debt and austerity measures, it increasingly relied on foreign investments to stabilize its economy. Russia, with its deep pockets and interest in expanding its influence, became a key player in Greece's financial landscape. But here's what's truly fascinating. During this period, Russia made concerted efforts to sway Greek political decisions. Through a combination of financial aid, investments, and behind-the-scenes lobbying, Russia sought to ensure that Greece remained sympathetic to Russian interests, particularly in the face of growing Western sanctions and geopolitical tensions. Russian investments targeted critical sectors of the Greek economy, including energy, infrastructure, and real estate. A series of unreported financial agreements and covert dealings between Greek politicians and Russian oligarchs came to light, revealing the extent of Russia's influence. These secret arrangements included significant investments in Greek infrastructure and real estate, with strings attached that favored Russian strategic objectives. In fact, in 2013, it was revealed that Russian state-controlled gas company Gazprom attempted to acquire the Greek natural gas company DEPA. Although the deal eventually fell through due to EU regulatory concerns, the revelations of these covert dealings shocked the Greek public and highlighted the hidden cost of economic dependence on Russia. But it is the war in Ukraine and the annexation of Crimea by Russia in 2014 that truly marked a critical turning point in Greece-Russia relations. Here's the thing. Greece found itself in a difficult position, trying to balance its historical ties with Russia against its obligations as a member of the European Union and NATO. This diplomatic balancing act became increasingly challenging as the conflict in Ukraine escalated. Greece's initial response was cautious, attempting to mediate and call for diplomatic solutions, reflecting its historical ambivalence in choosing sides between East and West. As the war in Ukraine has intensified, Greece's stance towards Russia has become more strained. While Greece initially attempted to maintain a neutral position, the pressure from its Western allies, particularly within the EU and NATO, forces it to take a more critical stance against Russian actions. This shift further strains the once close ties between the two nations. In 2016, Greece expelled 2 Russian diplomats and banned entry to 2 others, accusing them of attempting to undermine its national security by meddling its sensitive political and religious matters. Following the annexation of Crimea and the escalation of the conflict in Ukraine, Greece was compelled to align with the European Union sanctions against Russia. These sanctions targeted key sectors of the Russian economy, including finance, energy, and military industries, leading to significant economic repercussions. Greece faced its own set of challenges, as these sanctions also negatively impacted its agricultural exports to Russia, which had been a significant market for Greek products. But that's not all. In response, Russia retaliated with its own set of sanctions against EU countries, including Greece. This tit-for-tat escalation exacerbated the economic strain on Greece, which was already reeling from its financial crisis. The sanctions led to a sharp decline in trade between the two countries, particularly affecting Greek agricultural exports and tourism. The Greek tourism industry, which had benefited from a steady influx of Russian tourists, saw a significant drop in arrivals due to these strained relations. Which begs the question, what does the future of Greece-Russia relations look like? The relationship between Greece and Russia, spanning from the Greek Revolution to the present day, has been a complex tapestry of alliances, conflicts, and covert agendas. From the early days of mutual support during the struggle for Greek independence to the strategic partnerships and betrayals of the 19th and 20th centuries, their interactions have been shaped by both shared interest and deep-seated mistrust. The post-Cold War era brought a brief period of renewed cooperation, only to be undone by the pressures of economic crisis and geopolitical conflicts. What's more, the Greece-Russia saga illustrates the intricate and often precarious nature of international relationships. It reveals how historical ties can be both a source of strength and vulnerability, and how the hidden agendas and covert operations of the past can cast long shadows over the present. The story of Greece and Russia is a testament to the enduring impact of geopolitical strategies, economic dependencies, and political decisions on the lives of ordinary people. Looking ahead, the future of Greece-Russia relations remains uncertain. The recent years of strained ties and mutual suspicion have left deep scars, but they also offer lessons for future diplomatic efforts. As both nations navigate their respective paths within a rapidly changing global order, there remains the possibility of reconciliation and renewed cooperation. But the truth is, however, this will require a candid acknowledgement of past grievances, a commitment to transparent and equitable relations, and a concerted effort to rebuild trust. Let us know your personal thoughts in the comments section. And if you found this video valuable, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching, and see you on the next video.